Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to make a video about all of my super helpful tips on your first time traveling to China, because I just went on a trip to China and it was not my first time. On top of that, I also speak and can understand Mandarin Chinese, which is the national language in China, so that helped me get around seamlessly for the most part. But while I was there, I was thinking to myself, because I did run into a few hiccups, even if I'm fluent in the language, that it would be a little bit tough for, people to travel there for the first time, just because it's a different language, the culture is super different, especially from American culture, and they use a completely different system, which I'll get into next. They use completely different apps, they have a different way to pay, all of these things. It might just seem so overwhelming, but I don't want any of that to stop you if you really want to go to China and you're intimidated by all these logistics. I just want you to know that you can still go. And while I was there, I was thinking about what are the most important things you guys need to know if it's your first time. And I've compiled them all here in this video. So this is really all you need to know. Just listen to me and you will be okay in China. It's a lot simpler than you think, as long as you know these things. All right, so I think the most common hurdle that people run into first that may already scare them from going to China is that you need a visa. So you need to apply for a visa online, and it will tell you what kind of documents you need along with your visa. So make sure your passport does not expire within the next 6 months, so you need a valid passport. And then there are some other documents that you need. You're going to need to print out your application after you submitted it online along with those documents and bring it to your nearest Chinese embassy or consulate. And in America, I believe there are only a few cities that have the embassies, so it does kind of make it a little bit troublesome. The other option is you can pay for an online service to do all of this for you. It just costs a little bit more money. But you guys, I have a solution for you, because this is what I did, okay? China has a 240-hour visa-free transit option, which means you get to go to China without a visa for 10 days as a tourist. And this includes 25 designated zones that you can go to in China, which are a lot of zones, honestly, and this includes all of the major cities that you'll likely want to go to, like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Chengdu, all of these amazing cities. And the process is really easy. The one important thing that you need to know when it comes to this is that you will need to go to another country after China before you go back home to your home country. So, for example, I flew from New York City to Beijing. After my 10 days is up in China, I can't go back to New York City right away. I have to go to another country first, or another region, and then go back to New York City. So what I did was I booked a flight to Hong Kong and one night in Hong Kong before I went back to New York City. That's all you need to do. And then make sure that you have your flight info and your hotel info for that second country printed out. Because what happens is when you land in China and you are still in the airport, you just got off the plane, you're not going to go through the regular immigration line. There's going to be a counter that says visa-free transit. And if you don't see it, you can ask somebody there. You're just going to want to tell them that you're there for the 10-day visa-free option, and they will just make sure to check your flight info and your hotel info for that second country that you'll be going to after China. And then they're going to do their little thing on your passport, and then you'll be all set. So it is so good. I think China's really trying to do this to promote their tourism. And honestly, it's very enticing. The fact that you don't have to go through the entire visa application process, which, by the way, if you do choose to go that route, I recommend doing it about a month before your departure date. Or again, you can just do what I did. Go visa free. It's amazing. Okay. Oh, and one little random tip with that is the 10 days starts the midnight after you land. So say you land on a Thursday night at 4 p.m. The 10 days starts Friday at midnight. So Friday morning. Okay. So you still have a few days of that Thursday left before your actual 10 days start. Now that we have gotten the visa stuff out of the way, let's talk about apps. And there is one app that you're going to need above all apps. And what do you need to access all of your apps? Data. The app that I love and use the most on all of my trips is Airalo. It's a 100% digital eSIM store that gives you access to data in over 200 regions and countries. This means no more crazy roaming fees and no more waiting in long lines at the airport just to get a physical SIM card. All you have to do is download the eSIM before your trip, activate it when you land, and then you will be instantly connected to data. It is free to download, and if you use my code WU3, you can get $3 off your first eSIM purchase. For China specifically, there are a ton of data plan options, including the unlimited one, which I used and I highly recommend, because trust me when I say that you will be using your phone for everything there. You're gonna need data to navigate around, to order food, to pay for literally everything, even street snacks. They're really living in the future over there, you guys. The other best part about downloading Airlo for China is that you will still have access to all of your favorite apps in the US, like YouTube, Instagram, and other social media apps. Yep, you heard it. No need for a separate VPN. Airlo makes all of my trips abroad hassle-free, but I honestly could not have survived my time in China without it. So before you go abroad, remember to download Airlo and use my code WU3 to get $3 off your data plan. Some other apps that you're definitely gonna need for China are, you're gonna use a map for navigation, because there is no Google over there unless you use your VPN, but A-Maps is really the way to go. There's also Baidu Maps, but again, this video is about helping you guys and just simplifying things, and A-Map has an English version, which makes it really easy, so definitely download that. And something that's really important to know is how to pay in China, because cash it's a dying thing out there. It's still being used, and I actually do recommend you have some cash when you're in China. I know people say that everything is through the apps now, and it is. However, there could be technical difficulties that happen with your apps. So I would still recommend to take out a little bit of cash when you're there, you know, maybe 20 to 30 US dollars, honestly, is maybe all you really need, and that's just for emergency. But to pay for everything, download Alipay. That is what they use over there in China. They also use WeChat Pay. So I would download both of them, but I primarily used Alipay, and it worked for everything, pretty much. You can link your debit and your credit card to it. When you first download the app and create an account, you might need a little bit of verification. I was doing it in the comforts of my own New York City apartment when I downloaded Alipay before my trip, and they needed for me to scan my passport, and I ended up needing to chat with somebody because something wasn't going through, but they were super quick, and you're definitely gonna need this app for sure. It is really easy to use once you get there. Something to know is that they will either need to scan you or you will need to scan them, and then you'll put in the dollar amount. So say something's like $7, then you would put in 7. But you can let them know, like, I have Alipay. Like, you can just say, I have Alipay, and they will let you know whether they want to scan you or you scan them. And when I say that, I mean like QR code with your bill. But yeah, it's really straightforward and it's super easy. You will use digital payment like Alipay for pretty much everything. This can include like buying street food off of the street, or buying like a juice from a grandma on the side of the street. They all use Alipay. Even when I was buying fruit, even at, you know, the most local mom and pop shop you can think of, they accept Alipay. And even when it comes to taxis, they all do as well. However, when it comes to transportation, I didn't take taxis. I don't really like to fuss with taxis when I'm abroad, just in case I need to haggle for money and whatnot. So use Didi. That is the Chinese Uber version of transportation over there. Use Didi to call everything. It is in English, and it works exactly the same way as Uber. You can just put in your destination, and even when it comes to putting in your destination, you can put it in English if you want to, because again, if you have a map for navigation, you can copy and paste the location, or you can copy and paste it in Chinese and put it in your Didi app as well. And it works just the same way as Uber. You link your credit card to it, and it's super cheap over there in China, you guys. Even in the major cities, when we were taking like a 30-minute ride, it would be like $3 US. So it is so cheap. If we were not taking the metro, if we weren't taking a bus, then we were taking Didi. And when it comes to metros, same thing. You use Alipay. You go there into the metro, and there is going to be a ticket station, and you pay with Alipay. In terms of translating, if you don't speak a lick of Mandarin, you will want to use either Baidu Translate, which does not require a VPN, or you can use Google Translate if you have a VPN with Airlo. If you have your eSIM data that includes VPN, then you can use Google Translate. And just know that Chinese people are really willing to make a sale, but not even just make a sale, but to talk to you and to help you. So don't be shy to whip out your Google Translate for everything. They have a lot of patience, and they'll be able to help you. Like, if you want them to talk into your phone, just just put it up to their face and have them speak. Chinese people are very straightforward and they're very willing to help. So don't be shy about using Translate. A few other optional but very helpful apps that you guys should have would be, well, WhatsApp. If you don't already have it, usually a lot of people might already have WhatsApp, but it's just a good way to communicate with either your hotel. If you think of things like questions that you want to ask them, you can communicate on WhatsApp, or if you book tours and you want to communicate on the tour meeting point, you can use WhatsApp. The main messaging app that Chinese people use is WeChat, and you can download WeChat as well. Sometimes their verification process is a little bit fussy, which is why I say just have WhatsApp if anything. But WeChat is a good one to have if you are able to have it to again do the same thing, just communicate with people in China, like for tours or for hotels. And then if you want to know what the Yelp equivalent is to China, it is called Dianping, and it's basically where you can look up honestly so many things, but mainly like reviews and like ratings on restaurants, attractions, salons. If you want to get your hair done, your nails done, if you want to go to bars, all of that is on there, but it is only in Chinese. So honestly, if you don't know Chinese, you're not going to be using this. But if you even just want to look at like pictures, or if you really care about where you're going and you really want to look at reviews, Dianping is the Yelp equivalent. The next thing I want to talk about is where to book your hotels and experiences, and there's just one website. It is trip.com. That is where I booked all of my hotels, and it's all in English. Trip.com is specifically all in English, and because there's another sister website they have, it's called ctrip.com, Chinese trip.com, and that's in Chinese, but you can just use Trip. You'll find all of the hotel stuff there. Just book it through there, because there is no Airbnb that you can use in China. Of course, you can book hotels through the regular hotel websites too, like if you're a Hilton member, Marriott, you know, all the international chains, you can book it, you know, through your points however way you want to. But if you're trying to book like boutique hotels, or you just want to see what's out there, trip.com is where you want to book it. Super reliable, really easy to navigate. And same with tours and attractions. So when I was in Chengdu and I wanted to book my panda tour and the Great Wall tour, which included transportation, that was all on trip.com. And I know a lot of people, when it's your first time in China, you know, it's probably very daunting. You don't even know what to do, where to go. Trip.com, if you just put in the city of where you're going, it'll give you recommendations on what to do. Aside from that, you can always ask your hotel. Lastly, I wanted to give you guys just some random tips on your first time to China. Number one is the safety. It is so safe there. Really, it is a country with so many people, right? Like the first or second most populous country in the entire world. But people are always minding their own business. They really don't care too much about you. And if you are lost, they will actually go out of their way to try and help you, even with the language barrier. So people there are really nice, and it's safe. That doesn't mean you shouldn't exercise caution. You should still like make sure your belongings are visible. You know where your belongings are. Like, you want to be very cognizant. But for example, even at night, you like, as a solo female, I'm not worried at all being in China, because it is very safe there, and there are cameras everywhere, which, you know, to me makes it even more safe, so that nobody's gonna do anything bad to me. Yeah, my second tip is that people are always willing to help. Just make sure you use your translating app. Don't be shy. Have them speak into the app and it'll translate it, and vice versa for you as well. You know, you can really stop anyone on the street. And for the most part, people are willing to help you. And in big cities, a lot of people do speak English, or at least they can understand it. My third tip is that you can get around the country via high-speed train or plane really easily. There aren't just high-speed train options too. There are slower, like regular train, railroad trains as well. You can book all of that on trip.com, which is where I booked all of mine. The one thing to know is that train tickets aren't usually available until about a week or two before the trip. So if you're trying to book it too in advance, you're not really gonna see any tickets available. So for all of you like type A planners, this might be a little bit like anxiety inducing for you, but don't worry, there will be seats available. Just look about a week in advance and you'll be able to find your train tickets there. One little tip that I want to give you in terms of domestic plane travel though. For me specifically, I went to Beijing Chongqing and Chengdu. And from going to Beijing to Chongqing, it was about a 2.5 to 3 hour flight. And I tried to book through Air China before my trip, and it didn't work. For some reason, that website just didn't let us pay with my US credit card. So Trip.com, I use that to book my domestic flights. And something to note that is really interesting, and you don't really see this in America, is it gets cheaper as it gets closer. So the flight tickets get cheaper and cheaper, because I usually like to book my flights like 2 months in advance, maybe 1 month in advance, and it was pretty expensive for just like a short domestic flight. However, as it got closer to the date, like 2 to 3 weeks before my flight date, I found that the flight prices got significantly lower. So that's a really good tip for you too. So don't jump on it as soon as you know where you're going. Try to wait like 2 weeks before the trip. Okay, my last random tip is that you might get a little bit of culture shock when you go to China and you see how many people there are. Okay, there are so many people. And the one thing that you guys need to know is to please try to avoid the Chinese holidays. And you can find out what they are by just Googling the Chinese holidays. Because I went to China recently and it was their Chinese holiday one week. And the Chinese holidays are usually like over a span of a few days, up to a week. And Chinese people love to travel domestically, and it does get extra crowded, extra crowded. So when I was trying to see the pandas in Chengdu, it was a little bit hectic because there were kids everywhere, and grandmas and grandpas and parents, and it was just very, very hard to like walk through the park sometimes. So just try to avoid Chinese public holidays if you can. That is it for this video. I hope these tips were helpful. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments below. I will definitely get back to you. I want to make sure that, you know, people don't feel overwhelmed or intimidated to go and that it stops them. I think for a lot of people, it's almost like a faraway dream or just a thought that kind of goes through their head about going to China. But you know, it might be really hard for you to go because just language alone is going to be a problem. But it really isn't. It really isn't. As long as you know all of these things before you go, you will be fine and you will have a great time. But yeah, leave any questions that you have. I will be happy to answer them. And thank you for watching. I will see you all in my next video. Bye!